Welcome, Director Rohrwild from Aerospace Museum, Nuernberg here. How interesting is your museum in this region? And amazing how many awards you have, like the volunteer work as a director of the Bavarian Prime Minister and merits of the IAF, International Astronomical Federation. Recently you received that. And on the other hand, in this interview there is Professor Dr. Randy Lieberman, Lunar City, Reston, Virginia, USA, National Air and Space Museum, Washington, D.C., Vision of Spaceflight. Let me ask you a few questions today. We often call these times the lunar era. Is that the reason your email address is Lunar City? When I looked up in the internet, it just mentioned Lunar City of Nico LaFleur Music. What is behind this exceptional email name?
Well, almost a century ago, this first featured-length film, Woman in the Moon, came out. Portrayed space exploration in a serious manner, paying close attention to the science. It was not only a sensation that a female was involved there at that time, it became a cult movie picture with millions of people watching it since. Even though it was on the list of off-limit film, people watched it since. At the premiere 1929 in Berlin, Werner von Braun was enthusiastic, as well as Albert Einstein, known for his Nobel Prize. 1930 it came out in the US as the first scientific science film by Hans Lang. UFA film production technical consultancy by Hermann Oberth.
Do you consider this film was the start of space missions becoming popular? Director Rohrwild.
Definitely. When the first pioneers, especially Hermann Oberth, tried to get the idea of space flight into the public, it was the question to do that by a novel or by movie. And they tried that even from the start in 1924, and they finally succeeded with the movie Girl on the Moon, which had the story plot of landing people on the moon, accompanied by a young woman. And the movie, 3 hours long, is a very dramatic, very interesting movie, and this movie became, for a lot of space fans afterwards, the ignition. And you can, well, not today anymore, but you could have asked a lot of people who went to Peenemünde, and their background was either they were reading the book of Oberth, or the other thing, they watched the movie A Girl on the Moon.
Thank you. Did you hear in the United States this also, or is there any evidence of astronomy before that even?
Yes, the 20th July 1969, those first steps on the moon took place and changed a lot after those famous words. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Already 650 million people watched this great moment. After half a century after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin mission Apollo 11, more missions to the moon followed. Even in songs, the moonwalk showed strong influence in many parts of culture, our new way of thinking about aerospace, about lunar orbit.
How interesting. And how do you see the future of space mission worldwide?
The future of space mission. Well, there is a very important change. We do have, from the history, we have the big players like the Soviet Union and the United States of America. They have had their space race, and the Cold War is over. We have a new player, that's China, in the game. It's a very strong player, And on the other hand, we have two commercial strong players. This is, as we know, SpaceX and Blue Origin, and they really play they are really main drivers. On the other hand, we do have a major change in the satellite technology. Satellite technology means in earlier years, satellites grow bigger, bigger and bigger. Today they get smaller, smaller and smaller. And the new kind of constellations we have in space today, which provide internet, which provides in a classic way with the Galileo system, guidance on the streets for the cars. But the major thing is we have an extreme change to small satellites, and this allows many small users for a small pocket to get into space, test their devices in space, and after they are tested, they also can go on big missions, because only things which are tested and get their proof in space, they are allowed to get on international satellites, on international missions. And even Germany especially has a big focus in that field. Bavaria has a big focus on that field. Even two of the new launcher generation for small satellites companies are located in Bavaria. And the other one just close by, the next in Baden-Württemberg. So the south from one point is a main focus, and it is planned to have a launching site in the Northern Sea, which those rockets can be launched into space on one hand, and even you have, of course, ESA and the game Europe plays in the international game completely. So there is a lot of things going on right now with the launch of the new systems. So, for example, the new rockets by the commercial launchers, especially SpaceX and of course Blue Origin, they will have a big change when we are going to start the SLS system, establishing the Lunar Gateway, and then going into mining of asteroids. This really changes a lot, and this means, like the old book from Oberth says, a rocket into interplanetary space. And this is where we are just right now, and we are entering a new era of spaceflight and of colonizing the moon.
How exciting to hear your aspect for the future of space mission. What about the United States? What is your aspect regarding this, and what are the projects that really present what there is about the space mission?
Yeah, in Reston, Virginia, Lunar City shows in the web lunar measurements. This is science that brings us closer to the moon.
That is very clear. And today we are here in this Aerospace Museum, Nuernberg, that had started out with Professor Oberth. I can see the picture on the wall where you're sitting. And you sure studied not only the women in the moon, the first US steps, but also the Russian colleague Anatoly Solovyev, with a world record of almost 79 hours in the orbit. How about this?
Well, we have a special relation to him because his first spacesuit he used, not the outdoor suit, the indoor suit which he flew, the pressure suit he used with his first launch of Soyuz TM5. It is displayed in the museum. And Anatoly was here in the museum, and he's quite proud that His suit is in the Museum of Roman Oberth, because in Russia, Roman Oberth in the Society of Space People is still a very, very important name, and they, for them, the pioneers of spaceflight, not only Oberth or Tsiolkovsky or the American Goddard or the Frenchman Robert Pelterie. Those people are very important and they play a major role. And if you look to that, we do have in our museum a lot of things, especially about Russia. And the interesting thing, if you look to the beginning of spaceflight, the beginning of spaceflight was connected with the question of people on Mars. Is there life on Mars? This is simply because at that time on Earth, on our home planet, we built the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. And these were major projects. And on the Martian surface, they could see with the telescope also a huge canal system. And this told them, well, there must be intelligent people there. Whatever they look like, but they must be intelligent. And so for that generation, if you take Korolev, the great Russian chief designer, who was responsible for the first Sputnik rocket or for the first flight of Yuri Gagarin, or if you take Wernher von Braun, their goal was Mars, and it still is today.
And Wernher von Braun, as far as I know, he was taught by Professor Oberth, isn't it? And many famous people came to this, let's say, small but very specific, amazing and famous Aerospace Museum. And for this, let me also ask the US, how about this in the same aspect? See, you have a lot of programs going on. How about that?
Yes, well, when you look at the new Artemis program of US-led International Human Spaceflight Program to return humans to the moon, especially to the lunar South Pole by 2025. This will be the first human lunar landing in over 50 years. And it's just the start of larger plans for NASA. For this flight, the command module Orion will swing around the moon, and this will also include the first crewed lunar landing mission since Apollo 17 in 1972, which was the last lunar flight of the Apollo program. And most remarkable, NASA will land the first woman and first person of color on the moon.
It's all about game changing, isn't it? And do you see, in the era of moon, perhaps started with a simple movie picture and now resulting in what? Give us a picture.
Well, the moon is very important for us as Earth, because just for our own stability of our axis, it has a major influence that the Earth does not tumble through space. So it's like a swing hammer which holds us very stable. Only from that purpose it is very important. Also the tides, the moon is important, and normally if you look into our solar system or other solar systems, it's not normal to have a planet like the Earth owning a moon that size. And the moon in future will also have a very important role. It's a very natural, our given launch point into space. From the far side of the moon and also on the side we see, we can earn helium-3, which is very important in future for fusion reactors. So also from that point of view, the moon is extremely important. From the lunar soil, you can produce via a chemical process, you can produce oxygen. So, and you have found water on the polar regions on the moon, and this allows us to build, to get fuels out of that. And so it will be a stepping stone just into the planetary system. It's of course easier to be launched from the lunar gateway, but this is a very important thing that we are going to gain finally after so and so many years in spaceflight, a space-based structure. Mm-hmm. If you look to the very old ideas, you have a space station in space. Not only one, many. You have a filling station, gas stations, and so on. And if you get to the point, space station, what is a space station? A space station is a laboratory, nothing else. In space, for example, it has the big benefit where the circumstances of work are very different, very unusual. You have weightlessness. And of course, the way to get there is also very unusual. You need a rocket. But by the way, it's just a place of science. It's not a place of having fun. It's not a place of playing astronaut. The astronaut is just a man rabbit for experiments. And all the things we learn there, they are for the use and purpose on Earth. It's not just having fun in space. And as we knew, out of bad experience, it's still a dangerous undertaking. And so from that point of view, it's still a great endeavor to go into space, and you can compare it with a trip like Magellan did once around the Earth. In 3 years his crew at least made it, and if you go to Mars, here are similar. So it's not something which is a routine. It is still a major development we are undertaking, and we are still in the beginning of this journey.
Well, let me guess. 100 years ago, people like Professor Oberth, people like Werner von Braun, they already had the vision, they've been visionaries, they already had the vision for something like this. And when it started out to become an attraction for, let's say, everybody, science started out with this, science programs. And how about this, Professor Lieberman?
Yes, I have nothing to add what Mr. Rohwild said concerning the future activities, concerning the moon and more deeper space exploration. I would like to point out actually how important it is that not only like in the past Russia and USA are leading those activities, there are now more players, let me say, in the game. So like I want to express that also for the Artemis mission, NASA is not doing this alone. We have a great cooperation partner with ESA who is supplying the service module. Also SpaceX is planning on moon missions with their rockets. Maybe also Blue Origin from USA is also planning with a new rocket, new plan, their own space missions. Also we had some attempts from other countries like India and Israel to land on the moon. So there are a lot of activities and international cooperation, because without international cooperation we cannot achieve these targets for the future in space exploration.
That's right, that's right. And now let me ask another question to both of you, saying when I read in the US, everybody looking there at the missions that come from the North American part, but everybody is looking at other countries also, like you said, and I just think about China, which is pressing ahead with a series of ambitious missions after several successful robotic moon missions. And he wants to send a crew in the next decade, according to reports. How do you see the chances of a better world of understanding and future?
Well, better world, of course, even in his first book from 23, this means nearly 100 years ago, Hermann Oberth at the end of the book wrote that those ambitious plans only could be done if we are going to do them together in the world. So this was clear from the beginning that this is an endeavor which can't be taken by one alone. It was a compact in the beginning, and it was useful. So they were willing to take the risk, and were willing to take the money to develop those technologies. But today it's just about also a point of economics, because where does those copper resources come from? If you look back into history of the Earth, we had a lot of impacts of material from our planetary system, which is now stranded on the asteroid belt. And this material, which dropped on the Earth long time ago, it was just filled up with those materials. So what we got in our ground already came from those places. So there's the question whether we dig to those materials, whether we take silver, gold or whatever, or if we go simply to the place out there and do the mining out there. And this means to have this material in future, we have to go there where the material is. So we get to go into space, we have to find the possibilities, and we are not able to do that just alone. We need the economic side, because they are going to pay for that, but this will be also an endeavor which can't be done by one company. It's a joint together of all people in the world to have a better world in future. And of course, another thing we learn from spaceflight, if we are going to travel through our solar system, we need much better systems. The time of playing piggyback, doing so many things into your backpack to have food, water and other supplies which are sufficient for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to do your mission. If you travel through our solar system, you need closed circles. And those closed circle systems will have a major impact to our behavior on Earth, how we are going to start to work with the the things, with the goods we got on Earth, and we need a better understanding for our survival on Earth, because if we do not start to do that, we will not survive in space. And maybe we learn in space how to survive in our future altogether on our beautiful planet Earth, because this is our given spaceship.
Well, it makes very clear that this is not only a game-changing in technology, it's also game-changing in all other aspects that you pointed out. How about the US perspective?
Of course, people know, and there are a lot of critics, space exploration costs a lot of money. No? Why? And we have a lot of problems on Earth. Look, the corona pandemic, why shall we invest money in space? Still many people are thinking, oh, maybe just Teflon was one of the results of the space activities up to now, but this is wrong. Look to the US Apollo program. There, to manage such a project with more than 400,000 people, we had to introduce new ways how to manage projects, new project management technologies. No? We had to invent new production methods, for example, to weld, to accomplish this complex welding of the fuel and oxygen tanks. So there are a lot of benefits we had, were not only maybe space exploration benefits, but also many other industries concerning this is what I said, production improvements or quality management and so on to achieve the goal of such complex missions. And I have to say again, yes, in future we are very, very welcome to any other partners like ESA now, but also the Russians, of course, to accomplish such challenges in the future together.
Well, that sounds very clear and very right. And thank you so very much, Professor Lieberman, with the US aspect, and Director Rohrwild, from your point of view as Museum Director, for this interview. And this is also an introduction for the AACII Congress taking place in Nuernberg on Wednesday, the 6th of July, visiting the museum, stopping there and hearing and seeing all the experts from all over the world. Thank you so very much, both of you.
Thank you.